Kang Dae-ho stared at the official letter on his desk for the third time that morning. The words still looked the same, but he hoped they might change if he read them again. They did not. Exchange program assignment, urgent response required, the header read in bold letters. Below that, smaller text explained that he had been selected to host an alien researcher for 6 months. The researcher wanted to study human reproduction habits. Dae-ho felt his face grow hot just thinking about it. He worked at the Galactic Research Institute as a graduate student in xenobiology. Most days he studied alien plant samples or looked at pictures of strange creatures from distant planets. It was quiet work that he enjoyed. This assignment was very different from his usual tasks. The letter said the alien visitor was named Veltara. She came from something called the Synthoid Collective. Dae-ho had heard of them before in his classes. They were a species that made babies using machines instead of the normal way. The letter explained that Veltara wanted to understand why humans formed emotional bonds with their partners for reproduction. Dae-ho picked up his phone to call his girlfriend, Park So-min. She worked at the Earth Embassy as a cultural liaison, helping aliens understand human customs. If anyone could help him make sense of this situation, it would be her. "Hello, Dae-ho," So-min answered on the second ring. Her voice sounded cheerful as always. "So-min, I need your help with something strange," Dae-ho said. He could hear office sounds in the background where she worked. "What kind of strange?" she asked. He could picture her raising one eyebrow the way she always did when curious about something. "I got assigned to host an alien researcher. She wants to study human reproduction," Dae-ho said quickly, hoping to get the embarrassing part over with. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds. Then So-min started laughing. "That is definitely strange," she said between giggles. "What kind of alien?" "A synthoid. Her name is Veltara. The letter says she wants to understand human emotional bonding and relationships," Dae-ho explained. "Oh, this could be very interesting," So-min said. Her voice had changed from amused to curious. "Synthoids reproduce using technology. They do not understand love or romance at all. This researcher probably thinks humans are very weird for caring about emotions during reproduction. That makes me feel so much better," Dae-ho said with sarcasm in his voice. "When does she arrive?" So-min asked. Dae-ho looked at the letter again. "Tomorrow afternoon. She will stay in my apartment for 6 months. Your tiny apartment?" So-min asked. "Where will she sleep?" Dae-ho had not thought about that yet. His apartment had 1 bedroom, a small living room, and a kitchen that barely fit 1 person. Adding an alien researcher would make things very crowded. "I guess she can use the couch," he said. "You should clean your apartment tonight," So-min suggested. First impressions matter, especially with alien scientists. The next day, Dae-ho stood at the spaceport waiting for Veltara to arrive. He held a sign with her name written in both Korean and Galactic Standard script. Other people waited nearby for their own alien visitors. The exchange program brought many different species to Earth for research. A transport ship landed with a loud whoosh of air. The doors opened and several aliens walked out. Dae-ho recognized some species from his textbooks. There were tall, thin Aqualians with blue skin. A group of furry Ursoids lumbered past, looking like giant teddy bears. Finally, he saw what had to be a synthoid. Veltara looked almost human, but not quite right. She had pale gray skin that seemed to shine slightly under the spaceport lights. Her hair was white and cut very short. Her eyes were completely black with no visible pupils. She wore a simple gray uniform that looked very practical. She walked straight toward Dae-ho without looking around at anything else. Her movement seemed precise like a machine. "You are Kang Dae-ho," she said. It was not a question. Her voice sounded flat and emotionless. "Yes, that is me," Dae-ho replied. "Welcome to Earth, Veltara. I require transport to your dwelling," she said. "I have brought research equipment that needs proper setup." Dae-ho looked behind her and saw a floating cart loaded with metal boxes and strange devices. Some of them had blinking lights. Others made soft humming sounds. "What is all that equipment for?" he asked. "Monitoring and data collection," Veltara replied. "I must observe and measure human reproductive behaviors. This requires specialized instruments." Dae-ho felt his face grow hot again. "Monitoring? What kind of monitoring?" "Hormone levels, brain activity, heart rate, stress responses," Veltara listed without emotion. "Standard biological measurements for reproduction studies." "You want to monitor my biology while I am with my girlfriend?" Dae-ho asked, his voice getting higher. "Correct. This is the purpose of my research assignment, Veltara said. She looked confused by his reaction. Is this problematic for humans? Deho took a deep breath. He remembered that synthoids did not understand human emotions or privacy needs. To Veltara, reproduction was just science to study. Let us go to my apartment first, he said. We can discuss the details later. During the taxi ride, Veltara asked many questions. She wanted to know about human living arrangements, daily schedules, and social customs. Deho tried to answer simply, but every topic seemed to lead to more questions about human relationships. Why do humans share living spaces with reproductive partners? Veltara asked. Because we like spending time together, Deho said. This seems inefficient. Separate spaces would allow for better focus on individual tasks, Veltara observed. Humans do not always choose the most efficient option, Deho explained. Sometimes we choose things that make us happy instead. Veltara made notes on a small device. Happiness versus efficiency. Interesting priority system. When they reached his apartment, Deho helped carry the research equipment upstairs. Veltara examined every room carefully, making more notes. She paid special attention to his bedroom. This space is used for reproductive activities, she asked. Sometimes, Deho said, feeling embarrassed again. I will need to install monitoring devices here, Veltara said, and in other areas where reproductive bonding occurs. Other areas? Deho asked. Research indicates humans engage in bonding behaviors in kitchens, living rooms, and outdoor spaces, Veltara explained. All areas require observation. Deho realized this assignment would be much more complicated than he had expected. He wondered what So-min would think when she met Veltara tonight for dinner. At least his girlfriend had experience working with aliens. She might be able to help him survive the next 6 months. Veltara began unpacking her equipment, setting up strange devices throughout his apartment. Each one blinked with different colored lights. Some made soft beeping sounds every few seconds. What exactly are these things measuring? Deho asked. Everything, Veltara replied simply. Human reproduction involves many variables that synthoids do not understand. I must collect complete data. Deho sat down on his couch and watched the alien scientist transform his quiet apartment into a research laboratory. He had a feeling his life was about to become very interesting. So-min arrived at Deho's apartment exactly at 7 o'clock. She always arrived on time for everything. Deho opened the door and saw her holding a bag of groceries and wearing her best diplomatic smile. I brought ingredients for dinner, she said cheerfully. I thought cooking together might help our alien guest understand human bonding activities. That is very thoughtful, Deho said. He kissed her cheek and immediately heard a series of electronic beeps from around the apartment. What was that sound? So-min asked, looking around with confusion. Monitoring equipment, Deho explained with a sigh. Veltara has turned my apartment into a science laboratory. So-min stepped inside and stopped walking. Every room now contained strange alien devices. Blinking lights reflected off the walls. Soft humming sounds came from various corners. It looked like the inside of a spaceship. Greetings, Park So-min, came a flat voice from the kitchen. Veltara emerged carrying a tablet covered with scrolling data. I have been collecting baseline measurements of this dwelling's occupants. Hello, Veltara, So-min replied politely. Thank you for studying our species. Cultural exchange benefits everyone. Veltara tilted her head slightly. Your diplomatic training is evident in your response. However, I am not here for cultural exchange. This is scientific research with specific objectives. So-min looked at Deho with raised eyebrows. He shrugged helplessly. What kind of objectives? So-min asked. I must understand why humans form emotional attachments to reproductive partners, Veltara explained. Synthoids reproduce through technological synthesis. We select genetic materials based on optimal outcomes. Human behavior appears inefficient and illogical. Love is not about efficiency, So-min said gently. It is about connection and happiness. Define connection, Veltara requested, holding up her tablet to record the answer. So-min looked at Deho again. This conversation was already becoming strange, and they had not even started cooking dinner yet. Connection means feeling close to another person, So-min explained. Sharing thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Caring about their well-being as much as your own. Veltara made notes rapidly. And this connection is required for human reproduction. Not required, Deho said, but preferred. Humans can reproduce without love, but most of us choose not to. Fascinating, Veltara murmured. You voluntarily limit your reproductive options for emotional reasons. We do not see it as limiting, Somin said. We see it as choosing quality over quantity. More beeping sounds filled the air as Veltara's devices detected changes in their stress levels and heart rates. The alien scientist looked at her tablet with interest. Your biological responses indicate elevated emotional states during this discussion, Veltara observed. Are you experiencing reproductive arousal? Deho nearly choked on his own saliva. No, we are just talking. But your hormone levels have changed, Veltara insisted, showing them the tablet screen covered with colorful graphs. This pattern suggests preparation for mating behaviors. Somin started laughing despite the awkward situation. Veltara, humans have emotional responses to many things besides reproduction. We can feel excited, nervous, happy, or embarrassed just from having conversations. Emotions exist independently of reproduction? Veltara asked. She seemed genuinely surprised by this information. Yes, completely independently, Deho confirmed. Emotions affect everything we do, not just mating. Veltara made more notes. This explains many confusing observations in my preliminary research. Human emotional systems are far more complex than synthoid databases indicated. Somin smiled and picked up her grocery bag. Would you like to observe human bonding through cooking? Food preparation is an important social activity for our species. Will this involve reproductive behaviors? Veltara asked. It might involve hand-holding or brief kisses, Somin warned. Are you prepared to observe such activities scientifically? I am equipped with full-spectrum recording devices, Veltara replied seriously. I can document all relevant behaviors. They moved to the kitchen, which was barely large enough for 3 people. Veltara positioned herself in one corner with her tablet while Somin and Deho began preparing ingredients. What are you creating? Veltara asked. Kimchi stew, Somin replied. It is a traditional Korean dish that requires cooperation between partners. Cooperation is a reproductive strategy? Veltara inquired. Cooperation is a survival strategy, Deho corrected. Humans work together for many reasons. Sharing tasks makes life easier and more enjoyable. Veltara watched intently as Somin and Deho moved around each other in the small kitchen. They handed ingredients back and forth without speaking, anticipating each other's needs. When their hands touched while passing a bowl, Veltara's equipment registered the contact with excited beeping. Interesting, Veltara muttered. Your stress levels decrease during cooperative activities but increase during physical contact. This seems contradictory. Physical contact makes us nervous and excited at the same time, Somin explained while chopping vegetables. Good nervousness, not bad nervousness. Explain the difference, Veltara requested. Deho stirred the pot and thought about how to answer. Bad nervousness makes you want to run away. Good nervousness makes you want to stay close to the person causing it. Your species voluntarily seeks situations that cause nervous stress? Veltara asked. When we love someone, yes, Somin confirmed. The nervousness feels good because it means we care about that person's opinion of us. Veltara's equipment detected another change in their biological readings. Your heart rates are synchronizing, she announced with excitement. This was not mentioned in any research literature. Somin and Deho looked at each other with surprise. They had never noticed their hearts beating together before. Is that unusual? Deho asked. Extremely unusual, Veltara replied. Synthoids maintain independent biological rhythms at all times. Synchronization suggests loss of individual control. We do not lose control, Somin said. We choose to share control. There is a difference. Sharing control seems dangerous from an evolutionary perspective, Veltara observed. Maybe, Deho admitted, but it also makes us stronger as a team. 2 people working together can accomplish more than 1 person working alone. And the emotional satisfaction is greater, Somin added. Success feels better when shared with someone you love. Veltara made extensive notes while they finished cooking. Every small interaction between Somin and Deho triggered her monitoring equipment. When Somin wiped sauce from Deho's cheek, the devices nearly overloaded from all the biological data they detected. Are you always this physically affectionate? Veltara asked. This is normal behavior for human couples, Somin replied. Physical touch releases hormones that strengthen emotional bonds. You deliberately trigger hormone release for non-reproductive purposes? Veltara seemed amazed by this concept. Every day, Deho confirmed. Human relationships require regular maintenance through physical and emotional contact. Maintenance, Veltara repeated thoughtfully. Like equipment servicing. Not like equipment, Somin corrected gently. Like tending a garden, you must give it attention and care to help it grow. They sat down to eat dinner while Veltara continued recording data. The alien scientist watched every bite they took, every word they spoke, every glance they shared. Her intense observation made Deho feel like a specimen in a laboratory. Do synthoids eat meals together? Somin asked politely. Synthoids consume nutrients individually for optimal efficiency, Veltara replied. Social eating serves no biological purpose. It serves an emotional purpose, Deho explained. Sharing food creates feelings of community and belonging. More emotion-based behavior, Veltara noted. Human decisions appear to prioritize emotional satisfaction over logical efficiency in most situations. Emotions are logical for humans, Somin said. They help us form relationships which help us survive and thrive as a species. This requires further investigation, Veltara decided. I must observe more human interaction patterns to understand the complete emotional system. Deho and Somin exchanged looks across the dinner table. They could tell this research project was going to change all their normal routines. Having every moment of their relationship monitored and analyzed would definitely take some getting used to, but they were also becoming curious about what Veltara might discover. What could an alien scientist learn about human love that humans themselves did not already know? 3 weeks had passed since Veltara moved into Deho's apartment. The alien scientist had filled several data storage devices with information about human romantic behavior. She watched everything with the same intense focus that other researchers might use to study dangerous animals. Deho was getting used to the constant beeping and humming of monitoring equipment. Somin visited every evening after work, and they had learned to ignore most of Veltara's scientific observations about their interactions. Subjects demonstrate consistent pair bonding rituals, Veltara would mutter while taking notes. Physical contact frequency remained stable across observation period. On this particular evening, Veltara seemed more excited than usual. She had been working on her data analysis all day instead of just observing. When Somin arrived for dinner, the alien scientist was practically vibrating with enthusiasm. I have completed preliminary analysis of collected data, Veltara announced as soon as Somin walked through the door. The results are remarkable. What did you discover? Somin asked, sitting down on the couch next to Deho. Veltara pulled up holographic displays from her tablet. Colorful charts and graphs filled the air above the coffee table. Human emotional bonding creates measurable changes in brain chemistry, immune system function, and cellular regeneration rates. That sounds positive, Deho said cautiously. Very positive, Veltara confirmed. Humans in stable emotional relationships show superior health outcomes compared to isolated individuals. This suggests evolutionary advantages to pair bonding beyond simple reproduction. Somin looked at the floating data with interest. What kind of advantages? Increased resistance to disease, faster healing from injuries, improved cognitive function, and extended lifespan, Veltara listed. The emotional attachment system provides significant survival benefits. So love makes humans healthier? Deho asked. The data strongly supports this conclusion, Veltara replied. However, I do not yet understand the mechanism behind these effects. Why does emotional attachment trigger biological improvements? Maybe because humans evolved as social creatures, Somin suggested. We survive better in groups than alone. This theory requires testing, Veltara said. I propose an advanced experiment to understand the emotional bonding mechanism more completely. Deho and Somin exchanged glances. Veltara's experiment so far had involved a lot of embarrassing monitoring and awkward questions. They were not sure they wanted to participate in anything more advanced. What kind of experiment? Somin asked carefully. Veltara pulled out a new device that looked like a headband with glowing wires attached. Neural interface technology from the Synthoid Collective. It allows direct sharing of sensory and emotional experiences between different individuals. You want to read our minds? Deho asked nervously, not read. Experience, Veltara corrected. I want to temporarily feel what humans feel during emotional bonding. Current observation methods are insufficient for complete understanding. So Min leaned forward with curiosity. You can actually experience human emotions? The technology has never been tested between synthoids and humans, Veltara admitted. But theoretical models suggest it should work. Synthoids have neural structures capable of processing emotional data, even though we do not naturally generate such experiences. Is it safe? Deho asked. Safety protocols have been extensively tested, Veltara assured them. The neural link would last only a few minutes and could be terminated immediately if problems arise. What would you experience exactly? Somin asked. Whatever emotions you are feeling during the link, Veltara explained. If you experience affection, attachment, or romantic feelings toward each other, I would feel those same sensations temporarily. Deho felt his face grow warm. The idea of an alien scientist experiencing his romantic feelings seemed incredibly personal and embarrassing. Why do you need to feel our emotions? He asked. Cannot you just study the biological data? Biological data shows what happens, but not why it happens, Veltara replied. Synthoids reproduce through logical selection of optimal genetic combinations. We do not understand why emotions would improve this process for humans. Emotions do not improve reproduction directly, Somin said. They improve everything else about our lives, which makes us better partners and parents. This explanation lacks specific mechanisms, Veltara stated. Direct experience would provide clearer understanding of emotional bonding effects. Somin looked at Deho thoughtfully. It might help improve relations between humans and synthoids if she understands how we think and feel. Or it might traumatize an alien scientist who has never experienced emotions before, Deho pointed out. The risk assessment suggests minimal danger, Veltara said. Synthoid neural structures can process emotional data without permanent changes. I would experience your emotions temporarily, then return to normal synthoid cognitive patterns. What do you hope to learn? Somin asked. Why human emotional bonding creates such strong biological improvements, Veltara replied. Why humans choose partners based on emotional compatibility rather than genetic optimization. Why emotional attachment makes humans healthier and more effective. Deho and Somin sat quietly for several minutes, thinking about the proposal. The experiment would be completely unprecedented. No synthoid had ever experienced human emotions before. Would this help your research? Somin finally asked. It would provide invaluable data for the Galactic Species Preservation Project, Veltara confirmed. Understanding human emotional bonding could help other species improve their own reproductive strategies. And it might help aliens understand humans better in general, Somin added. Better understanding leads to better cooperation. Deho sighed. His girlfriend's diplomatic instincts were taking over. She always wanted to help improve interspecies relations. What exactly would we need to do? He asked. Simply behave normally while wearing the neural interface devices, Veltara explained. Engage in typical bonding activities while I monitor the emotional experience from a scientific perspective. Typical bonding activities like what? Deho asked suspiciously. Conversation, physical affection, shared experiences, Veltara listed. Nothing beyond your normal comfort levels. Somin squeezed Deho's hand. I think we should help her. This could be important for human-alien relations. Are you sure about this? Deho asked. What if something goes wrong? What if the neural link affects her permanently? Synthoid technology is extremely reliable, Veltara assured them. The worst possible outcome would be temporary confusion, while my neural patterns readjust to normal functioning. And the best possible outcome? Somin asked. Revolutionary understanding of human emotional systems, Veltara replied. Data that could improve relationships between all species in the galaxy. Deho looked at his girlfriend's excited expression and knew she had already decided to participate. Somin loved opportunities to help with diplomatic breakthroughs. When would you want to do this experiment? He asked. Tomorrow evening, if you agree, Veltara said. I need time to calibrate the neural interface devices for human brain patterns. What if we do not like how it feels? Somin asked. The link can be severed instantly, Veltara promised. You maintain complete control over the experiment duration. Deho took a deep breath. The whole situation still felt strange and embarrassing, but he trusted Somin's judgment about diplomatic matters. And he had to admit he was curious about what an alien scientist might learn from experiencing human love. All right, he said finally. We will try your experiment. Veltara's black eyes seemed to brighten slightly. Excellent. This will provide unprecedented scientific data. Just remember, So-min warned gently, emotions can be overwhelming even for humans who are used to them. Be prepared for very intense sensations. I am prepared for anything, Veltara replied confidently. Daeho hoped the alien scientist was right about that. The next evening, Veltara spent 2 hours setting up the neural interface equipment. The devices looked more complex than anything she had used before. Multiple headbands connected to a central processing unit that hummed with energy. Are you certain this is safe? Daeho asked for the third time as Veltara adjusted the calibration settings. All safety protocols have been verified, Veltara replied without looking up from her work. The neural link will transmit emotional experiences without affecting your normal brain function. So-min sat on the couch watching the alien scientist prepare her equipment. Have you ever experienced emotions before, Veltara? Never, Veltara confirmed. Synthoids are designed for logical efficiency. Emotions would interfere with optimal decision-making processes. Emotions do not interfere with human decision-making, So-min said. They provide additional information that logic alone cannot supply. This claim will be tested tonight, Veltara stated. If emotional experiences provide useful information, I should be able to detect and analyze those benefits. Daeho was not entirely convinced this experiment was a good idea, but So-min seemed excited about participating in scientific history. No alien had ever experienced human emotions before. The results could change how different species understood each other. The equipment is ready, Veltara announced. She held up 3 headband devices with glowing neural connectors. Each device will monitor and transmit your emotional states while allowing me to experience them directly. All 3 of us will be connected? So-min asked. Correct. I will experience whatever emotions you generate while maintaining my own scientific observations, Veltara explained. This dual perspective should provide comprehensive data. They each put on a neural interface headband. The devices felt warm against their skin and made soft humming sounds. Daeho could feel a strange tingling sensation as the alien technology connected to his brain. Neural links established, Veltara reported, checking her monitoring equipment. Beginning data collection in 3, 2, 1. At first, nothing seemed different. Daeho and So-min sat together on the couch while Veltara observed from her chair across the room. Then So-min smiled at Daeho and suddenly Veltara made a sharp gasping sound. What was that? Veltara asked with confusion in her voice. I detected a sudden increase in neural activity, but it was not unpleasant. So-min smiled at me, Daeho explained. That made me feel happy. Happy, Veltara repeated slowly. Is this the sensation I just experienced? Yes, So-min confirmed. Did you like it? Veltara paused before answering. Like is not an appropriate scientific term. However, the sensation was interesting, more complex than expected. So-min took Daeho's hand, and Veltara immediately stiffened in her chair. Another sensation, the alien scientist reported with a slightly shaky voice, similar to the previous one but stronger and more focused. That is affection, Daeho said. Physical contact between people who care about each other triggers feelings of closeness and safety. Safety, Veltara murmured. Yes, I can identify that component, but there are other elements I cannot classify. Love has many different parts, So-min explained gently. Happiness, safety, excitement, contentment, desire for closeness. They all blend together. Veltara was taking notes on her tablet, but her normally steady hands were trembling slightly. The emotional complexity is far greater than synthoid databases suggested. How do humans function with such intense sensory input? You get used to it, Daeho said. Emotions become part of your normal thinking process. But they must interfere with logical analysis, Veltara insisted. Sometimes, So-min admitted. But they also provide information that logic cannot. They tell us who we can trust, who makes us feel safe, who we want to spend our lives with. Daeho leaned over and kissed So-min's cheek. Veltara made a sound like a small scream and nearly dropped her tablet. Warning, intense sensation detected, she announced breathlessly. Heart rate elevated, neural activity spiking, but no indication of danger or distress. That is normal, So-min assured her. Physical affection creates very strong emotional responses. Strong is insufficient terminology, Veltara said, her voice sounding different than usual. The sensation was overwhelming but simultaneously desirable. This seems contradictory. Good overwhelming, Deho explained. Like eating something delicious or hearing beautiful music. Intense but pleasant. Veltara stared at them both with her completely black eyes. I am beginning to understand why humans seek these experiences repeatedly. The sensations are unlike anything in synthoid existence. Are you all right? So-min asked with concern. You sound different. I am experiencing difficulty maintaining scientific objectivity, Veltara admitted. The emotional sensations are affecting my analytical processes. Maybe we should stop the experiment, Deho suggested. No, Veltara said quickly. I need more data. I need to understand the complete range of human emotional bonding. So-min and Deho spent the next hour engaging in normal couple activities, while Veltara experienced their emotions through the neural link. They talked about their day, shared a snack, and watched a movie together. Every small interaction triggered intense responses from the alien scientist. When Deho put his arm around So-min during the movie, Veltara made a soft sound of amazement. The contentment sensation, she whispered. It is unlike anything I have ever experienced. So peaceful and satisfying. That is what love feels like most of the time, So-min explained. Not always intense excitement. Sometimes just quiet happiness from being close to someone you care about. I understand now why humans form permanent pair bonds, Veltara said. These sensations would be highly addictive. You must crave repeated exposure to such experiences. We do, Deho confirmed. That is why we choose to stay together instead of finding new partners constantly. The efficiency is irrelevant because the emotional rewards are so significant, Veltara observed. Fascinating. As the evening continued, Veltara became less scientific in her observations and more personal in her responses. She stopped taking notes and simply experienced the emotions flowing through the neural link. I did not know such sensations were possible, she said softly during a quiet moment in the movie. Synthoid existence is very empty by comparison. Would you want to experience emotions regularly? So-min asked. Veltara was quiet for a long time before answering. The question is irrelevant. Synthoids are not designed for emotional experiences. This is temporary scientific observation only. But Deho noticed that Veltara's voice sounded less certain than usual. The alien scientist was being affected by human emotions in ways she had not expected. Are you ready to end the experiment? He asked. Not yet, Veltara replied. I need to understand the complete bonding process. May I observe more intimate emotional exchanges? Deho and So-min looked at each other uncertainly. They had been holding back their more affectionate behavior because an alien scientist was watching them. What do you mean by more intimate? So-min asked. Deeper emotional connections, stronger pair bonding behaviors, Veltara explained. The current data is valuable but incomplete. You want us to act more romantic while you experience our feelings? Deho asked. For scientific purposes, Veltara confirmed. To understand the full range of human emotional bonding, So-min squeezed Deho's hand. If it helps her understand humans better, I think we should continue. Deho was not sure this experiment was still purely scientific. Veltara seemed to be enjoying the emotional experiences more than just studying them. But he trusted So-min's judgment about helping with interspecies understanding. All right, he agreed. But if this gets too strange, we stop immediately. Agreed, Veltara said quickly. Continue with normal bonding behaviors. I will maintain scientific observation protocols. Deho had a feeling those protocols were about to become much more complicated. 2 days after the neural link experiment, Deho noticed that Veltara was acting strangely. The alien scientist had been quiet and distracted, spending long hours staring at her research data without taking new notes. Her normally precise movements seemed uncertain. Is everything all right with your research? So-min asked during dinner. She had noticed the change in Veltara's behavior too. The data analysis is complete, Veltara replied without looking up from her tablet. However, I am experiencing difficulty processing the results. What kind of difficulty? Deho asked. Veltara set down her tablet and looked at them both with her completely black eyes. The emotional experiences from the neural link have not faded as expected. I continue to feel residual sensations that interfere with normal synthoid cognitive patterns. So-min and Deho exchanged worried glances. Are you saying the emotions are permanent? So-min asked with concern. Unknown, Veltara admitted. Synthoid neural structures were not designed to process emotional data. The experiences may have created unexpected changes in my brain chemistry. That sounds serious, Deho said. Should you contact your supervisors? Negative, Veltara replied quickly. The Synthoid Collective would consider emotional contamination a research failure. I would be recalled and subjected to neural restructuring procedures. What are neural restructuring procedures? Somin asked. Complete removal of any non-logical thought patterns, Veltara explained. My memories of emotional experiences would be deleted along with any personality changes they caused. Deho felt a chill run through him. They would erase parts of your mind? Correct. Synthoids are designed for efficiency and logic. Emotions are considered a malfunction to be corrected, Veltara said. But you do not want the emotions removed? Somin asked gently. Veltara was quiet for a long moment. I find myself reluctant to lose the capacity for these new sensations. Human emotional experiences are far more complex and satisfying than synthoid existence. So what will you do? Deho asked. I do not know, Veltara admitted. This situation was not covered in my mission parameters. Before anyone could respond, Veltara's communication device began making urgent beeping sounds. She looked at the device with alarm. Incoming transmission from the Synthoid Collective, she announced. Commander Zekthul requests immediate status report. A holographic projection appeared above the communication device. The alien figure that materialized looked similar to Veltara but larger and more intimidating. Commander Zekthul had the same gray skin and black eyes, but their expression was completely emotionless. Veltara, report your research progress, the commander ordered in a flat, mechanical voice. Research is proceeding according to schedule, Veltara replied, her voice returning to its original emotionless tone. Human reproductive bonding patterns have been documented and analyzed. Excellent. Prepare for extraction in 72 hours. The collective requires your data for the species preservation project. Understood. Commander, Veltara responded. The holographic projection disappeared, leaving the three of them sitting in silence. 72 hours, Somin said quietly. That is not very much time. Time for what? Veltara asked. To decide what you want to do about your situation, Deho explained. Do you want to return to the Synthoid Collective and lose your ability to feel emotions? Veltara stood up and began pacing around the small apartment. Her movements were agitated, which was completely unlike her normal, precise behavior. The logical choice is to return and complete my mission, she said. The Synthoid Collective invested significant resources in this research project. But what do you want to do? Somin asked. Not what is logical or expected, but what would make you happy. Happy? Veltara repeated the word as if it were foreign. I want to continue experiencing these sensations. I want to understand more about human emotional connections. I want to feel the contentment and affection I experienced through the neural link. Then do not go back, Deho said simply. It is not that simple, Veltara protested. I have obligations to my species. My research could help the collective understand emotional bonding across the galaxy. Your research could also help humans understand other species better, Somin pointed out. You could continue studying emotional bonding from this side, as someone who has experienced both logical and emotional thinking. Veltara stopped pacing and stared at them. You would want me to stay on Earth? If that is what you choose, Somin confirmed. Your research has already helped us understand ourselves better. Imagine what you could learn with more time. And we could help you learn about emotions gradually, Deho added, instead of losing them completely. Veltara sat down heavily on the couch. The collective would consider me defective. They would send other agents to retrieve me. Earth has diplomatic protections for alien researchers, Somin said. If you request asylum for scientific purposes, the embassy would support your case. Asylum, Veltara murmured. I would become a refugee from my own species. You would become a pioneer, Deho corrected. The first synthoid to experience and understand emotional bonding. Your research could change how all species interact with each other. They spent the rest of the evening discussing Veltara's options. The alien scientist was clearly torn between loyalty to her species and her desire to continue experiencing emotions. Every time she seemed ready to decide, she would think of another complication. The next morning, Veltara made her choice. I will request asylum through the Earth Embassy, she announced over breakfast. My research into human emotional bonding is too important to abandon. Somin smiled widely. I can help you with the diplomatic paperwork. The embassy handles asylum requests regularly. But first I must transmit my current research data to the collective, Veltara said. They deserve to receive the information they funded. Will you tell them about your emotional experiences? Deho asked. No, Veltara replied. I will report only the biological and behavioral data. The emotional components will remain classified for future research. 3 days later, Commander Zekthul arrived to retrieve Veltara as scheduled. They found the apartment empty except for a holographic message, explaining that Veltara had requested Asylum to continue her research into interspecies emotional compatibility. Emotional compatibility is not a recognized field of study, Commander Zekthul told the Earth Embassy officials. It is now, Somin replied professionally. Dr. Veltara has made groundbreaking discoveries about the biological benefits of emotional bonding. Her research could improve relationships between all galactic species. Veltara is synthoid property, the commander insisted. She must return for neural restructuring. Dr. Veltara is a sentient being who has requested asylum for scientific purposes, the embassy representative replied firmly. Earth recognizes her right to continue her research independently. Commander Zekthul eventually left without Veltara, but not before warning that the collective would not recognize any research conducted by a defective synthoid. 6 months later, Veltara published the first comprehensive study of interspecies emotional bonding. Her work became required reading for diplomats and researchers throughout the galaxy. She had become not just a scientist studying human emotions, but a being who could experience them directly. Do you ever regret your decision? Somin asked one evening as they all sat together in the apartment that had become Veltara's permanent home. Never, Veltara replied with something that almost looked like a smile. I have gained far more than I lost. The capacity for emotional experience has made existence infinitely more interesting. Daiho watched his alien roommate interact with Somin and marveled at how much Veltara had changed. The cold logical scientist had become someone capable of friendship, curiosity, and even affection. What will you research next? He asked. Human friendship, Veltara replied immediately. I want to understand how emotional bonds form between individuals who are not reproductive partners. That should be easier to study, Somin said with amusement. Less embarrassing monitoring equipment required. Actually, Veltara said thoughtfully, I believe friendship might be even more complex than romantic bonding. The research will require extensive participant observation. Daiho and Somin looked at each other and started laughing. Their alien roommate had developed quite an appetite for experiencing human emotions firsthand. We would be happy to help, Somin offered. For scientific purposes only, Veltara added with what was definitely an attempt at human humor. Of course, Daiho agreed, grinning. Strictly scientific. As the evening continued, Veltara watched her two human friends with the wonder of someone discovering a completely new way to exist. The galaxy had become a much more interesting place once she learned to feel as well as think.